for Game 2 of this 4-game series against the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox won last night 3-1. The Blue Jays just couldn't get anything figured out against Clay Buchholz. Let's take a look at the Red Sox lineup for John Farrell. Boston is 35-43. Same lineup. Mookie Betts, Brock Holt. Mookie Betts top of the order against the Blue Jays has been a thorn in their side. 13 for 31 this season. And then right in the third spot, Xander Bogaerts, the shortstop, has a 6-game hitting streak. 9 for 25 with 4 doubles and 3 RBIs during that mini hit streak. And they're set to take on Marco Estrada.
Marco getting ready for his 11th start of the season for the Blue Jays, and we've been talking about his last 2, but it's really been the month of June where Marco has really taken it to the next level. 16 games this year, 5-3 with a 345 earned run average. He hasn't lost since May the 22nd. Picked up a no decision in his last game. That was 8 2/3 innings versus Tampa Bay. 2 hits, 10 strikeouts versus Tampa Bay. He's using everything, all of his pitches, to pitch some great baseball right now.
So Mookie Betts, the leadoff man, hitting .271 for the season. As we mentioned, he's got an 11-game hit streak against the Blue Jays going back to last September. Estrada is ready. Here's the first pitch of the game. Right back up the middle. Devin Travis bobbles it, recovers, and throws it in the dirt. Travis got to it very easily, gloved it, and then was almost as if he were surprised that he didn't catch it.
Very quick. Gets to the ball. You can see fumbles it momentarily, and then in his haste to get the ball over to first base, throws it into the ground. You can see he gets there, gets in front of it, bobbles it, and then Encarnacion cannot pick it over there at first base. So leadoff batter's on once again.
It's an error on Devin Travis. That's his 4th error of the season. There goes the perfect game.
No hitter still intact.
This is Brock Holt, the super utility player. He takes a strike. Holt is 0 for 6 going head-to-head with Marco Estrada. He's done a nice job. The injuries really have forced him into a semi-regular role, and he's played everywhere.
Yeah, he can start in one position, and if the pinch hit or someone gets injured, thrown out of the ballgame, he can stay in the ballgame and take over right there. He's a very valuable player for John Farrell and the Boston Red Sox.
Mookie Betts is a threat to run. He's 12 for 14. You mentioned he is a budding star for this Red Sox team. He's just 22 years old.
You know, it's a good lead over there at first base for Mookie Betts, and what that will do is you got some threats to steal over there at first base. He's going to get some fastballs for Brock Holt to hit. Estrada's got an outstanding changeup. A lot easier to steal a base on a changeup than it is on a fastball.
Well, he's got a big lead. There he goes. Ball is swung on and hit to center field. Pilar gets back. He makes the catch, and Betts will return to first. Brock Holt flies out to the center fielder.
And that looked like a fastball, and the runner took off, and Holt was able to drive it to center field. He was hoping to get that ball on the ground with the runner running.
So Holt's retired. Now Xander Bogaerts, the shortstop, sporting a 6-game hit streak. .294 average for Bogaerts.
You talk about another 22-year-old who is going to come into his own. I was talking to Victor Rodriguez, the assistant hitting coach for the Boston Red Sox, and I asked him what makes him so tough. He says he stays within his plan, and his plan is to hit the ball back through the middle. He will hit home runs. You can see he's going to get a little bit bigger and stronger, but he gets in problems when he tries to pull the ball, try to yank home runs. He needs to stay in the middle of the field, and he has done that all season long.
1 out. Betts with another big lead at first. Not running here. 2-0. Bogaerts is just 22. He is from Aruba. And he also speaks 5 languages. Very, very intelligent young man. Very pleasant young man. I got a chance to know him a little bit over in Japan during the WBC in 2013.
Confident. Playing the game of baseball right now with a lot of confidence.
There's a strike. This will be the third straight game Navarro has caught Marco Estrada. And what does Navarro do that works so well with Estrada?
Well, one of the things that Navarro has introduced to Marco Estrada is he's elevated the fastball a lot more, and he's throwing it upstairs. He's throwing it in breaking ball counts, and it's been taking a lot of the batters by surprise. There's a changeup.
Good one.
I was talking to Marco after that last start, and I was asking him about Navarro and what pitching to DeAnna has meant. He says, I can't keep up with him. He is so far ahead of the hitters. He's thinking 2, 3, 4 pitches ahead of him. And he's like, I didn't even think about using the fastball in this situation. And Navarro has been an outstanding find for the Blue Jays catching Marco Estrada.
Two and two. Inside, it's a full count. David Ortiz, the cleanup man, is on deck. Ortiz went 0 for 4 last night with a strikeout. Mookie Betts reached on the air by the second baseman. There goes Betts. It's ball 4.
Well, we were just talking about the fastball and the location of the fastball. Let's take a look at the scouting report for Marco Estrada and what has been working out for him lately. It's where he's throwing that fastball, the location, high in the zone. The last 2 games, he's been using the elevated fastball. It's really taken a lot of hitters by surprise. We've seen a lot of pop-ups and a lot of strikeouts with it. He's also kept it lower in the strike zone, so basically he's kept it out of the middle of the plate. He's pounding down with it and then up, and it really complements his changeup. He's using the curveball just a little bit more as a finishing pitch. And his cutter. His cutter's been a big pitch for him too. So that's 4 pitches now that he's been able to mix in, match, and use.
Now Estrada called Navarro out from behind the plate. They wanted to make sure they had their heads together before they worked with the ever dangerous David Ortiz. Estrada has pitched well against this lineup. The 9 men in the lineup tonight batting just 147 against Marco Estrada. 228 for Ortiz on the season. Better keep an eye on Mookie Betts at second. Boy, he had a big lead.
Yeah, and he almost got a jump. He's got the green light for the Boston Red Sox. If he feels like he can go and steal. He bluffed on that first pitch to David Ortiz like he was trying to steal.
Back-to-back changeups on the first 2 pitches, and Estrada quickly ahead. This is where the new wrinkle of that high fastball really comes into play.
Yeah, everything was down. The changeup was down, the curveball was down, the fastball was down. The introduction of the elevated fastball changes the eye plane of that hitter, stands him up, if you will. And the strike zone looks bigger. This is a perfect time for it right here, 0-2.
Fastball that was down and away. Estrada won't light up the radar gun. He'll throw 91 to maybe 93 occasionally, but that's not his game.
No. His game is to go in and out, up and down, backwards and forwards. And that's what pitching is all about. When you don't have that great fastball where you can just blow it by him, or a wipeout slider, you have to pitch.
You see Navarro acknowledging that high fastball. That's exactly where he wanted it, hoping to get Ortiz to swing. Gianna's a thinker back there. Foul back. Gianna Navarro really came into his own in 2008, part of that World Series team down in Tampa Bay, and he had a great pitching coach to work with in Jim Hickey. And they set high standards for their pitching staff and really ask a lot of their catchers.
Call a good game, find some weaknesses, use the strength of your pitcher. I thought him working with Mark Burley where Mark Burley was using more fastballs, really taking a lot of those hitters by surprise. Makes a lot of sense. You know, if you're a changeup type of pitcher and you start throwing more fastballs, hitters are going to be surprised.
2 balls and 2 strikes. There's a changeup hit deep to center field. Pilar, he's got room. He gets there, makes the catch. Betts will stay at second. He went halfway, and when Pilar caught the ball, he didn't have time to go back and tag up.
He got it just off the end of the bat. Changeup that was fading down and away. Watch Ortiz reach for it. Just doesn't get all of it, and Mookie Betts just not real sure. The rule of thumb is as the outfielder gets closer to the ball, you, the runner, get closer to the base. And you can see from that replay, the closer Pilar got to the ball, Betts bounced off of second base, so he could not tag up and advance.
2 outs now. Pablo Sandoval, the third baseman. Just off the plate outside. Sandoval went 0 for 4 in the game last night. The Red Sox scored 3 runs on 7 hits. Mookie Betts, the leadoff man, had 2 of those hits and scored 2 of the 3 runs. Sandoval in his first year with the Red Sox, he's starting to swing the bat a little more consistently of late. Signed a lucrative free agent contract after spending his whole career in San Francisco.
This is why they got him right here to drive in runs. He's hitting behind David Ortiz, the cleanup hitter, and now Sandoval's there to drive in runs. He's driven in 26 this year on 7 home runs.
Estrada early on just hasn't had his real good command, and he wants to have another chat with his catcher.
Yeah, he's got a game plan, I think, what he wants to do here to Sandoval. But this is a typical Red Sox type of inning, isn't it? You know, they'll see a lot of pitches, they'll really work you over, and if you're not aggressive with them, if you're not pounding that strike zone, you're going to see these type of elevated pitch counts.
They've reached on an error and a walk. There goes Mookie Betts. He got a great jump, and it'll be ball 4 to Sandoval. 2 walks in the inning. That'll load the bases for Mike Napoli. This is a little bit like Estrada's start against the Orioles. Although he pitched a no-hitter into the 8th, he had 4 walks in the first 3 innings and just was able to dance around some early trouble.
Ended up throwing 118 pitches in that game in 7+ innings versus Baltimore. You're right, he just couldn't find that release point the first couple of innings, but then when he did, wow, awesome.
Mike Napoli, the first baseman. There's a high cutter right at the top of the zone.
That's another pitch that he has introduced this year. Originally, he wanted to use that cutter against the left-handers, something just to get it in on them. But he has found that it's been very effective versus right-handers this year.
Estrada's ahead 0-2. They mentioned Estrada in his last 2 starts has been nearly perfect. He's taken a no-hitter into the 8th inning in his last 2 starts, 15 2/3. He only walked 4, and that came in the first start against the Orioles. 0-2, 2 outs. Early trouble for Marco Estrada. Took a shot at that corner, down and away, and missed.
Mike Napoli's always had a great eye at the plate. I mean, he didn't even flinch at that. It was obviously off the plate, according to Pitch Tracker. This is the pitch where Estrada wants to make something happen right here. Get an out on this 2-2 pitch.
Here's a changeup down in the dirt. It's a full count. Bases are loaded. The runners will be off on the pitch. Mookie Betts is at third. He reached on the air. Bogarts walked, as did Sandoval.
And it looks like he's going to go out of the windup. He's got a very slow and deliberate windup. You can get a huge jump right now.
There go the runners. Napoli fouls it back. Both Bogarts and Sandoval are nearly at the next base by the time the ball gets to the home plate. But Estrada obviously feels much more comfortable pitching out of the windup than the stretch.
Pitching coaches will give them the option. You can see right when that ball crosses the plate, they're nearly at second and third.
They'll do it all over.
Now he's going to go out of the stretch.
Yeah, they got too big a jump. Ball four. Estrada walks in a run. 3 walks in the inning. And Estrada has thrown 29 pitches, and he's going to get a little bit of a break from his pitching coach, Pete Walker, who comes out from the Blue Jays dugout.
Yeah, the break is not necessarily anything that he sees. He just wants to give him a break. 29 pitches in 1 inning, that's a lot, so he's going to go out and talk to him and let him catch his breath.
Over his last 2 starts, Marco Estrada has pitched himself into some pretty elite company. Consecutive no-hit bids into the 7th inning or longer.
Clay Kirby in San Diego, that was back in '69. Nolan Ryan in July of '72, and also in '73. How about Dave Steve? We were talking about Dave Steve, the last Blue Jay to do that consecutive no-hitter, 7+ innings. Steve did it in '88. I think one of those was against the Blue Jays, our team. Blue Jays and Orioles?
Blue Jays and Orioles, and Blue Jays in Cleveland, I believe. Last 2 starts of the season in '88. Well, this is a red-hot hitter now. Alejandro De Aza, a run in, bases still loaded. Since coming to the Orioles, De Aza's hit .317. He's got 11 extra base hits. Estrada still can't find that strike zone. He falls behind 2-0. Bogarts at third, Sandoval at second, Napoli at first. Three and 0.
That's what the Red Sox do. I mean, other teams might have swung at that 2-0 pitch, trying to be a little bit aggressive, trying to knock in 2 runs with 1 hit. Red Sox, they'll take it. They will make you work.
Estrada has walked in 2 runs here in the first inning. That's his 4th walk of the inning. And the Blue Jays bullpen is up and working. Todd Redmond starting to loosen up. .33 pitches thrown by Estrada here in the first inning. This is Blake Swihart, the switch-hitting catcher. A couple of cutters. He jumps ahead of Swihart.
Now you got to finish him off. You can't set him up or anything like that. You've already thrown 35 pitches this inning. You got to go right after him right here.
off the plate. You can see the pitch tracker showing that third pitch outside. Two and two. Calling for the swing. That high fastball. Will Little, the home plate umpire, said Swihart went after it. But the Red Sox take a 2-0 lead. They still don't have a hit. Tonight, Reyes top of the order. Josh Donaldson in the DH spot tonight. He absolutely wears out left-handed pitching. He's batting .396 against left-handers this season, and Jose Bautista. He's hit more home runs against the Red Sox than any other team he's played against. He's got 33 long balls against Boston, and he's in an 0 for 21 slump right now, so they need these top-of-the-order hitters to do something and get them back on the offensive trail.
Hit hot again. The Blue Jays are hitting .311 versus left-handed pitcher, and they'll get one tonight. Eduardo Rodriguez. This is his 7th start of the season. Blue Jays saw him back on June the 14th, and he wasn't around very long. Just 4 2/3 innings. He gave up 9 earned runs. The 9 earned runs tied for the most allowed by a Red Sox starter in 2015. He throws a lot of fastballs, and he's got very good stuff.
Jose Reyes, a switch hitter batting right-handed. Reyes, he is the catalyst for this offense. He's been on base just once in the last 3 games. He is 1 for 12, and the Blue Jays are 1 and 2 in those 3 games.
He's just got a lot of energy at the top of the lineup. He can just make so many good things happen.
Bogarts gets a glove on it. It'll be an infield hit for Reyes. He's aboard. Bogarts got a glove on it, but all he could do was knock it down. Let's take a look at the rest of the defense for the Boston Red Sox. In the outfield, it's Diaz and Jackie Bradley Jr. A lot of speed, good coverage in the outfield. Pablo Sandoval's committed 10 errors at third base. Bogarts has been good at short. Holt filling in for Dustin Pedroia. First baseman's Napoli, and the catcher is Blake Swihart.
Left field, Alejandro Diaz. 3 teams in 10 months. He had a game last night. 4 putouts, a great catch to save a run. He also had an outfield assist. They have used 8 players in left field this year for the Boston Red Sox. Diaz giving them some defense now.
They've also had 7 starters in right. They've had to mix and match all season long. This is Josh Donaldson, who's DHing tonight. Inside, that almost got away from Swihart. I got a feeling this might be one of those barn burner kind of games. Back and forth. The last time these 2 starters met, it was on Sunday in the series finale. Marco Estrada had a 10-0 lead going in the bottom of the 5th. This is popped up. Holt calls for it. The second baseman takes charge and makes the catch. Donaldson's retired.
Well, the key, I think, is to get runners on base against the young left-hander for the Boston Red Sox. Look at the opponent's batting average when there are runners on base. It jumps from 172 to 318. And then his strikeout percentage when runners are on base goes down from 24.5 down to 17. So the key is get on base. Reyes has done that. Let's see if they can cash him.
Jose Bautista. He's had a good month, but lately it's been a bit of a struggle for him. He's 0 for his last 21. He's hit 8 home runs in the month of June and driven in 20. You know, when you see these great hitters like Bautista, you really appreciate when they get on those hot streaks. I mean, how challenging it is to be a consistent hitter in the big leagues. Everybody that scouts you, every pitching coach, every pitcher trying to get you out, there's a lot of challenges that you have to deal with.
Every pitch and where you hit in the lineup, the guys who are around you, where you end up hitting towards the end of the game, they're out to get you. And that's why they get paid the big money. It's so hard, number one, to hit major league pitching and then to produce and do some of the things that we have seen some of these Blue Jay hitters do. Like a Bautista, 50 home run season, 40 home run season. It's tough to do it.
The Blue Jays beat up on Rodriguez the last time they faced him. As Pat mentioned, he gave up 9 earned runs in 4 2/3. Up and away. Got a lot of movement on his fastball, but it's the fastball command that'll come and go.
That's right. His fastball, he can cut it and he can sink it. He just has to keep it down.
Rodriguez did something doesn't happen very often. In his first 2 major league starts, he went 7 innings, allowing as few as 3 hits and 1 earned run in the first 2 games. He was tough. It's the only time it's happened in the modern era.
All the great pitchers that we have seen, he's the first one to do that.
His first start was May 28th at Texas against the Rangers. Oh, Bautista thought it was up and away, and Will Little calls him for the strike. Well, nobody knows the strike zone better than Jose Bautista. He leads the American League in walks.
One more time, high strike. That ball cuts back in. Bautista thought it was ball 4. Will Little had different thoughts about that.
Bautista has 57 walks. He's 5 walks ahead of Carlos Santana of the Indians. 3-2. Reyes is running. There's ball 4. Bautista makes sure that it's called ball 4. So he'll go to first with yet another walk. We talk about those first 2 good starts for Eduardo Rodriguez. It's been a little inconsistent since. You see the numbers from his first 2 starts, and they're historic. But after that, it's been a little bit of a roller coaster ride.
First 3 were Texas, Minnesota, and then at Baltimore. He was very good at Baltimore. 6 innings, 7 strikeouts, and no earned runs. But the last 3, Blue Jays at Kansas City and Baltimore, ERA higher, opponent's batting average higher, and the strikeouts are down. 1, 5, and 5 in his last 3. He has only pitched into the 6th inning 1 time in his last 3 starts. And this is why. This is the problems. He has not been able to have that fastball command. Now, I don't know if it's because he's facing some better hitters and he's trying to be perfect against these guys. Early on, his first couple of games, I was watching those games. He was aggressive with his fastball. Here it is. Let me see you hit it. And he was in and out very quickly. Now he's just hasn't been able to find it.
He just turned 22 in April. The Red Sox got him last year in a July trade deadline deal with the Orioles for Andrew Miller, the big left-handed reliever. He was originally signed as a free agent by the Orioles out of Venezuela. Nothing close to Encarnacion.
Both starters trying to find the strike zone early against these two good offensive teams.
Colabello is on deck. See the fastball at 95. There's no problem with his velocity.
No, or movement. He just has to be able to put it in the zone.
It's a high pop into right. Jackie Bradley Jr. comes in. Reyes will stay put at second. Encarnacion is the second out of the inning.
Looked like Edwin got a little bit too long on that swing, trying to hit the ball too far, and got underneath that one. When he's going well, his swing is a lot shorter than that one.
So Chris Colabello will bat with 2 outs and 2 on. Colabello has hit nearly 400 against left-handed pitching this season, 394. The Blue Jays as a team have the highest batting average in baseball against lefty pitching.
311, and they're 11-4 versus left-handed starters this year.
Colabello hits it hard, but right to Brock Holt. He loses his footing, but gets up in time to throw out Colabello. The Blue Jays get a couple aboard, but they'll strand a pair. Eduardo Rodriguez pitches out of a first inning jam.
Presented by the 2015 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Welcome back to Toronto. It is indoor baseball again, as it has been kind of cloudy, overcast, and occasional rain here all afternoon into the early evening. The Red Sox have scored 2 runs without benefit of a hit. They took advantage of an error and 4 walks in the first inning. This is Jackie Bradley Jr., the right fielder. There's a good changeup. Of course, Jackie Bradley Jr. hasn't quite figured out how to hit in the big league level just yet. He'll chase that changeup off the plate.
You know, he's not like some of the other hitters in the Boston Red Sox lineup where they are very patient and they wait for their pitch. He's got tools to work with as a hitter. He's got some power. He's got some pop. You mentioned how well he hit in the minor leagues. He just hasn't been able to take it here to the big leagues.
For his career in the minor leagues over a span of 5 seasons, he's hit .296.
With his defense, .296. That's a pretty good ball player.
Fastball fouled into the catcher's mitt. Would you put him on the same level as Kevin Kiermaier and Kevin Pillar, defensively in center?
Absolutely. In center field, you should see this guy, the jumps he gets, the routes that he takes. He's got a very good arm. He can really play center field. The only thing that has been holding him back is his hitting. And I think, excuse me, Buck, the first thing I would do would be just, hey, all right, let's level your bat. Just put it on your shoulder. Let's just try and make contact. Shorten your swing up a little bit. Get the ball on the ground and use your great speed.
There's a fly ball to right. This ball's got a chance, and it is gone. Jackie Bradley Jr. hits his first home run of the season, and that's the first hit for the Red Sox.
Looked like it might have been a high changeup from Marco Estrada trying to fool Bradley, and all it did was speed up Jackie Bradley Jr.'s bat. Hit 111 coming into this game with no home runs and 1 RBI. Yeah, it is a changeup, and what it does is when it's up like this, it speeds up your bat. You catch it out in front, and he homers.
It's his 5th career home run. First of the season, as we mentioned. He's only had 28 at-bats this year. Mookie Betts cuts on the first pitch and lifts a high pop down the right side into the first row of seats. Jackie Bradley Jr. is now 4 for 28. That's his first extra base hit since coming up to the Red Sox. Cutter off to plate. Mookie Betts scored the first run of the ball game. He reached on the air by the second baseman. Big numbers over his last 16 games. Betts has hit over 400 for Boston. Ground ball. Reyes takes the short hop. Fires in time. 1 down.
Remember, it took a couple of innings in that start against Baltimore 2 starts ago for Marco Estrada to really find that release point, and then he started using all of his pitches. Haven't seen the curveball yet tonight. First time through the lineup of the Boston Red Sox. I think that's been a good pitch for him. Just something else that you can put in the minds of these hitters.
Looks like Navarro may have gotten crossed up on that pitch, and you can see him tap his glove. It was my mistake. He got his glove halfway between breaking ball and fastball. There's a cutter for a strike.
That's a pitch. Strike. That's it right there. That he wanted to start working on in spring training against left-handers, something that can get inside on him. He knew that his changeup goes down and away to the lefties. He wanted something to go in on him. It's been a good pitch for him.
I think right now both Navarro and Estrada are trying to figure out what's working. And he threw one good cutter, thought he might get another one. He hasn't gotten to the curveball very often yet.
I haven't seen that. Thought we would see that in that first inning when he was walking those batters.
This is popped up middle of the outfield. Kevin Pillar calls for it and makes the catch. 2 down.
Swing for the fences and save during the DIY Expert Sale. Only at Home Building Center and Home Hardware Building Center.
The Boston Red Sox playing much better of late. Have a 3-0 lead. It's a high pitch up out of the zone to the shortstop, Xander Bogaerts. swings right through that fastball. Estrada had problems in the first inning. He walked 4, and that led to 2 Red Sox runs. He threw 21 balls in that first inning out of 38 pitches. We bring that up because he only threw 42 balls in his entire outing last time up against Tampa Bay.
Never seen him finer. Strong. It kept getting stronger and stronger as the game went along. 10 strikeouts in that game. No walks against Tampa Bay.
Another high fastball. Bogaerts gets a piece of it to stay alive. Everything upstairs in this at bat.
That looks like it's by design against Xander Bogaerts. So you keep throwing that fastball up like that. This is a prime time, I think, Buck, to use that curveball. 60 pitches already here in the second inning.
He threw the changeup, and Bogaerts had a good look at it. It's a full count. Fastball lifted in the air, not that deep. Bautista backs up, makes the catch. The inning is over, but the number 9 hitter, Jackie Bradley Jr., hits his first home run of the season. It's his first home run in 248 at-bats since last May 31st against Tampa Bay.
We have the Blue Jays on Canada Day, but it is the debut of the brand new Tim and Sid show. This has been in the works for months. We have no idea what they're going to do on the show, so you'll have to tune in after the Blue Jays game tomorrow to see Tim and Sid and connect online 24/7 at Tim and Sid. Well, guys, yesterday, Chris Colabello had a fantastic game at first base. He's back in left field today, and he told me that the big thing for him right now is just feeling that comfort. He said when he was first put into left field, there were moments where he didn't want the ball hit to him. He felt a little bit anxious. He said when the ball was hit to him, his heart rate would go up because he just wanted so badly to be able to make the play, and we saw him make some mistakes. After working with Tim Leeper, he's felt a little bit better. But more importantly, he said watching Jose Bautista jump over the wall at Fenway Park and take that ball back, he finally said to himself, you know what, I want to do that. I want to enjoy playing the left field. I want to enjoy when balls get hit to me. And we are seeing a big difference in the way he's playing. Of course, at first base, he says everything is second nature to him. He feels that's obviously his strongest position. Buck?
Well, you're right, and we have seen Colabello out here every day at home working with Tim Leeper, taking balls off the fungo. They'll work on drops and how you attack different fly balls. Kim Leaper's done a good job. He's had Danny Valencia out there. He's had Ryan Goins out there.
Yeah, you know. And if you're not comfortable with the position, if you're new to it, the only way to get better is to get on the other end of that fungo and just take ball after ball after ball until you feel comfortable. There are times when you're playing different positions where you don't want that ball hit to you. That's a true statement. It's scary.
He made me think of Tommy Lasorda when he said that Colabella didn't want the ball hit to him. It's a great Dodgers story about Lasorda, Pete Guerrero, and Steve Sax. Oh, that's strike 3. Valencia called out on strikes. Will Little called that same pitch on Bautista last inning when it looked like it was ball 4. So Valencia is called out on a questionable high strike.
It's got a little bit of a cut to it. Watch it right at the end. Come back over and hit the plate. Watch it one more time from overhead. That's a strike right on the corner. It looks like a ball, but it's just on the corner.
Went down Deanna Navarro.
So Pete Guerrero, Steve Sax.
So Tommy was upset with his team. He didn't feel like they were mentally prepared when the ball was put in play. So he called the team meeting one day and he told Pete Guerrero, Pete, what do you think about before the pitcher delivers the pitch? He said, Tommy, I think of 2 things. Please don't hit it to me, and please don't hit it to Saxy. That was the end of the meeting, of course.
How could you be serious after that?
Oh, man.
But it's true. I mean, there are major leaguers, if you're learning a new position, that bat goes down the left field line, where you don't want that ball coming at you.
Yeah, and every time you get out there, that ball finds you if you're uncomfortable.
It certainly does find you. This time Navarro is going to find the left field line with his bat. It looked like a changeup from Rodriguez. Let's go over Rodriguez. Basically a 3-pitch pitcher. Fastball, slider, changeup.
We mentioned he was acquired in a trade last July. And the Orioles did a good job. He didn't have a good season last year in the minor leagues. Well, he can also pick it. Or that ball may have caught him. And you can see him shaking his head. He just kind of stuck his glove out, and the ball ended up in his glove.
Yeah, that ball did catch him. It hit right to the glove side. Watch him react. Stick the glove out. That ball found its way into the webbing. That's where you are very appreciative that that ball was hit to your glove side. Your only reaction is stick it out there. And maybe it finds the leather, and it does. As a hitter, you're like, you owe me one.
Yeah, Blue Jays have had a few of those lately. Rodriguez starting to get zeroed in that strike zone. Villar lines it to the second baseman. So Rodriguez has sorted himself out here in the second. 3 up, 3 down. We'll go to the third. Boston with a 3-0 lead.
your friends can still enjoy tomorrow's game from the comfort of one of our party rooms, situated in the Acura Luxury Suite level. Your single game ticket includes hostess, food, and non-alcoholic beverages for $150 each. Reserve your Canada Day party room ticket now before they are gone. Go to BlueJays.com for more. Buck?
What a great way to get to a ball game when you don't have a chance to buy some tickets. You get a party room, bring a bunch of your friends, and come on down to Rogers Center. We move to the third inning. David Ortiz has flied out in his only at bat. Marco Estrada has thrown 62 pitches. You mentioned his start against the Orioles 2 starts ago. It took him a while to get sorted out. He walked 4 in the first 3 innings and then carried a no-hitter into the 8th.
He found it, started throwing all of his pitches for strikes, kept them off balance.
Forget about this one. David Ortiz has hit yet another home run here at Rogers Center. Ortiz has many records as far as visiting players hitting home runs and extra base hits here in this ballpark, and for him that's his 13th home run of the season.
And that was a no doubt about it type of home run right there. It looked like another changeup, and it got Ortiz out in front again and really sped his bat up. They got him out last time with fastballs up. There's the changeup down, and he recognizes it right away. You can see he hits that one out in front with that classic leg kick and then finish from David Ortiz.
Pablo Sandoval pops it down the left side. Danny Valencia will run out of room. That's the 38th home run Ortiz has hit here at Rogers Center. That's more than any other visitor in the ballpark's history. He has 120 extra base hits against the Blue Jays. That's the highest total for Ortiz against any one team in his career.
He got all of that one.
You see the home runs all time against the Blue Jays. David Ortiz and Alex Rodriguez have both hit 57 homers. Ortiz is in his 19th season. He'll turn 40 in November.
How does Minnesota let him go? You know.
There's a high fly ball to left. Colabello backing up just in front of the warning track. Gets there. Well, how about Seattle? He signed originally with Seattle, and they let him go, and he ended up going to Minnesota. Terry Ryan, the general manager now, and at the time when Ortiz was let go. So that's the worst mistake of his career. But Minnesota tried to make him something he wasn't and tried to get him to use the whole field, and just didn't work out. He had 58 home runs for the Twins in 455 games. 58 home runs.
And they let him go.
He had 266, and they thought he was just going to be another mediocre DH. Since he's come to Boston, he's hit 421 home runs in 1,726 games.
Hall of Famer?
Yeah.
I think he is.
Yeah. He might be the first DH to get in the Hall of Fame if Edgar Martinez doesn't make it before him. Napoli fouls it off.
The home runs. I think we played him before. He hit his 475th, which tied him with Willie Stargell and Stan Musial. He has since passed them. The hits, and then all the great postseason numbers and accomplishments that he has done. He's a Hall of Famer.
Napoli pops it down the right side. That's going to drift into foul territory. David Ortiz now has 479 home runs, closing in on 500. It's A-Rod, Pujols, and Ortiz, the active home run leaders.
That's a lot of home runs. I'm telling you.
That's a lot of anything.
Yeah.
Singles, doubles, home runs, whatever you want. he goes up and gets that high fastball and rips it into center. Mike Napoli, after the home run, hits that line drive into center, and that's going to be it for Marco Estrada. Sandoval flied out to left. Napoli singles to center, and disappointing outing for Marco Estrada. Two of his best of his career, and then a disappointing start to this game tonight. So Todd Redmond, the long man, will come in. Got to put the brakes on this hard-charging Red Sox offense. Alejandro De Aza will face Redmond when we come back. 2 home runs tonight for Boston. Redmond has been the long man, and he is given the assignment here again tonight. He comes into this ballgame in the 3rd inning with just 1 out.
He's going to have to give them 2, maybe 3 innings. It's going to have to be quick for the most part. He's done a good job pitching out of the bullpen. Pitching as a long man. The first batter that he will face is Alejandro De Aza, who comes into this ballgame a hot hitter for the Boston Red Sox.
De Aza has 9 hits, and the majority of those hits are below the belt, and he likes it down out over the plate.
He's a low ball hitter. You can see that just 2 of those balls, fastballs, are up over the middle of that strike zone, that line right through that strike zone. Everything is down, and there's a lot of off-speed pitches that he hits. That should work to Todd Redmond's advantage because he likes to use that elevated fastball.
And there's a fastball about belt high. He swings right through it. De Aza had a bases loaded walk in the 1st. That's his 19th RBI overall, his 12th since coming to Boston. He bunts it up the 3rd base line, and that's going to be a base hit. De Aza is doing everything the Boston Red Sox could have hoped for. He's hitting home runs. He's getting on base. He's getting base hits with regularity. And here he puts more pressure on the Jays.
Playing great defense also in left field. Let's don't forget about that. Catches the Blue Jays napping a little bit as he drops it down with just 1 out and gets an infield hit.
This is the catcher, Blake Swihart. He was called out on strikes to end the 1st inning. Swihart's another one of the Red Sox 1st-round picks. He's out of Bedford, Texas. Went to high school in New Mexico, and they took him 1st in the 2011 draft.
His name has been mentioned all spring long about will they trade him for some pitching. Philadelphia for Cole Hamels, you hear that one all the time. With the injury to Christian Vasquez, they can't give him up.
Ryan Hannigan, who had a broken hand earlier in the season, is reported to be activated for tomorrow's game. He's the catcher, and he was the guy they had anticipated being their everyday catcher. So they'll have to make a roster move to get him on the roster. The Red Sox have a couple of extra players here. You can see Hanley Ramirez has returned to Toronto. He went to Boston to have his hand checked. He was hit on a line drive on the hand while running the bases on Wednesday.
He put on a show.
Did he ever?
In batting practice today. Goodness. He was hitting him into the WestJet flight deck in center field. I would say that the hand feels a lot better today.
I thought for a minute John Farrell might go back in and change the lineup the way he was swinging the bat in BP. I mean, he was hitting them where it's going to be hard to find the baseballs. But Rusney Castillo is also here in the ballpark, and we said that we expect Hannigan here tomorrow to play. He's probably in town already. There's a lot going on with the Red Sox right now.
Yeah, I get that same feeling with this team.
The owner, John Henry, is here. The general manager, Ben Cherington, is here. And you just get a feeling that something's in the works.
They want to make a big announcement, something like that, a roster move, a change, something. They've been playing a little bit better of late.
Swihart putting up a battle against Todd Redmond. The Red Sox are 7 games back there in last place in the AL East. They're 35-43. Obviously, their first goal is to get to 500. They are the only team in the East that doesn't have 20 wins at home this season. Every other team has at least 21 wins at home. The oddity is that Tampa Bay is 21-24 at home. They played 55 games at home already. They're going to have a ton of road games coming up.
I just keep thinking how hard it is to win down there. Blue Jays go down there. It's always been hard to win there. And they have a losing record at home. I know they have a great road record.
So fly ball into shallow center. Pilar sets up. He waits for it. Napoli will bluff, but he'll stay put. No, he's going to challenge him. And there's a play. Boy, what a good job by Napoli. He broke and just looked like he was going to bluff. But then he sensed that the Blue Jays were a little flat-footed. Reyes got totally surprised when he caught the ball from Pilar.
Yeah, caught the ball and then hesitated for just a second there, not thinking that Napoli was just going to keep going. It's a short fly ball to left field. Pilar gets it, and you see him double clutch just a little bit, and then Reyes catches. Hesitates a little bit, and Napoli makes it with a head-first dive.
How did the other infielders handle that play outside of Reyes, who's catching the relay?
Well, they have to be the eyes for Jose Reyes and tell him, hey, he's tagging up. Let's go. Make that play. Napoli originally didn't tag up like he was going halfway. The infielders, they glance, they take a look at those runners. Well, he's halfway, and then he went and tagged up and really caught the Blue Jays flat-footed.
So he moves up on the fly ball to center. Now watch Napoli. He's going to go back, and he sees it's a routine ball. Then he goes back to tag. Pilar assumes that he's not going to run, and anytime you assume anything on the field, you're going to be embarrassed. You can't take anything for granted.
Yeah, a little hesitation from both Kevin in center field and Jose Reyes at shortstop. And the Red Sox took advantage of it.
Says Jackie Bradley Jr., who picked up his first home run of the season in the second.
That broke a streak for Jackie Bradley. 123 at bats without an extra base hit.
They've gone 248 at bats without a home run. This is a pop-up behind second in shallow center. Reyes calls for it, takes charge, and makes the catch. But the Red Sox get another run. David Ortiz with a home run. Boston has a 4-0 lead.
Is the Hockey Central signing season beginning at 11 a.m. tomorrow Eastern Time. Hockey Central will have you covered with free agent moves and expert analysis beginning at 11 o'clock on Sportsnet. Plus, watch the Jays Red Sox Canada Day game with NHL free agent updates on Sportsnet 1. Buck?
Barry, a lot going on tomorrow, and we'll keep you up to date on everything that's happening as that free agent signing period begins. Don Cherry will be in the house. He's going to throw out the first pitch to Josh Donaldson tomorrow to start the ball game on Canada Day.
He's a big baseball fan.
Big baseball fan. He played baseball as a youngster, and his father is in the Kingston Sports Hall of Fame as a baseball player. Ground ball. Travis is thrown out. First out of the bottom of the third. Yeah, Don Cherry was, of course, in Boston in the 70s coaching the Bruins and knows a lot about the Red Sox, knows a lot about the Blue Jays, and he had a big part of Josh Donaldson's big surge in the All-Star voting. Stephen Amell and Don Cherry both should be congratulated for their effort.
And the fans. The fans are out there punching the keys.
The fans have been tremendous. Great sports fan from coast to coast. Great Blue Jay fans. Jose Reyes had an infield single his first time up. Blue Jays need Reyes on base. He makes things happen. This is popped up. Xander Bogaerts, the shortstop, is there, and 2 quick outs here in the third. 7 straight retired by Eduardo Rodriguez, and the Blue Jays bats have really cooled off since Friday.
Yeah, it started with the Giovanni Gallardo start by the Texas Rangers. That was on Saturday, 4-0 shutout, and they were only able to score 3 runs, but still beat Texas, and then 1 run in last night's ball game at 143 average. Gibby was saying that, you know, he knew they were white hot before this little down period. And that type of hitting, that's hard to keep up night after night after night. That's not going to happen. What they will do, they're talented hitters. They're running into some pitchers that are making good pitches. They're sinker slider type of pitches. They're hitting the ball hard at times. They're just not finding a hole. Just continue to go up there and just have good at bats. It'll turn.
0-2, 2 outs. One thing this brings into focus is how well this team works as a unit. Reyes gets on board, then he becomes a distraction. Donaldson gets better pitches. When Donaldson's on, Bautista gets better pitches. It's really an offense that has to have a lot of things go right, and then everybody's clicking at the same time.
You know what they do is they take advantage of the other team's base on balls, the wildness of the other team, and then they combine those with a couple of base hits and then a home run, and then you've got a 3-4 run inning. The teams they've been facing, they haven't been walking guys.
Eduardo Rodriguez has retired 8 straight. That's his second strikeout. He has straightened out his command issues, and he's got a lot of life on his fastball. Donaldson strikes out to end the third.
Presented by the 2015 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
The Boston Red Sox have taken advantage of some wildness in the air in the first inning, and 4 walks led to 2 Red Sox runs and solo home runs in the second and third inning, and Boston has a 4-0 lead. Back to the top of the order, it's Mookie Betts. Base hit past Reyes into center. Mookie Betts has extended his personal hit streak against the Blue Jays to 12 straight games. That goes back to last September.
He has got a quick bat. It's almost like he's taking the ball out of the catcher's glove. It's there and then it's through. Watch how quickly he gets to that pitch. Shoots it right past Reyes into center field. He's got a quick bat, and this is another player, I think, just like Xander Bogaerts, is going to hit for some power. The older he gets, and the longer he's in this league.
Don't expect the Red Sox to lay back on the Blue Jays because they have a 4-0 lead. They're trying to make up ground, get back to 500. The Blue Jays have a 6-4 advantage over the Red Sox in their head-to-head season matchups. And they know what the Blue Jays did to them at Fenway Park. They scored 31 runs in 3 games. It's an offense that can get you. You're right. They're not going to lay down with a 4-run lead. And in one of those games, Boston had an 8-1 lead after 4 innings. Blue Jays stormed back and swept the series. Marco Estrada lasted just 2 1/3. He gives up 4 runs. 2 of those earned on a couple of home runs. Jackie Bradley Jr. and David Ortiz both hit solo home runs. What a big lead There goes Betts. He had a huge jump. Navarro's throw is not in time. That's as big a lead as you will see. He had about 2 feet onto the artificial surface, and Navarro didn't have much of a chance.
We mentioned that in the first inning, the big lead. Look at that. And then with the leg kick, he is off and running. You can see he's got his head down. That is a straight steal. It's a high tag by Jose Reyes. Watch where the tag is, right on the thigh. But by that time, it looked like Betts got the foot in.
The Blue Jays are waiting on their video room, see if they want to challenge this call at second. It looked like now they are going to challenge it. Jerry Davis, the second base umpire, is the crew chief, and he made the call at second. So he'll be joined by the first base umpire, Phil Cuzzy, the next umpire in seniority, and they'll go to the headsets and check in with New York and challenge this call on the field.
Watch the foot. It's in the bag right there, and there's the tag. On that angle, it looked like he got him just right by the glove. But by that time, it looked like Betts had touched the bag. Got to have evidence that shows that the tag was placed on the runner before the foot hit the bag. And from what we saw, even in the slow motion, that the tag was just a little bit late.
Jerry Davis, the crew chief, has 31 years of experience in the major leagues. He joined the major league staff in '84, and he has had World Series. He's had All-Star games. He's a veteran umpire. It looked like the foot hit the bag when he put the tag on his hip. Betts, right as we speak, credited with his 13th steal of the season. And the call on the field is being challenged by the Blue Jays.
One more time. You see Betts, watch that front foot. It comes in. It's on the bag. You can't really tell from there when the tag hits him.
That was a different look for sure, but it looked like had he tagged the left leg and not the right leg, he might have been out. But obviously, in real time, he's got to just try to make a swipe tag.
Sure, get the ball and get it down as quickly as possible. Reyes did everything he could to get that tag down as quickly as possible. When the hand came down, it looked like it got him around the hip area or the thigh area. One more time. The feet go in. They're on the bag right there. There's the tag.
They have their decision, and they're going to call him up.
Wow.
Took a long time to determine it. Reyes with the quick tag. He swipe tagged Betts before he got to the bag, so the Blue Jays win their challenge and have the call on the field overturned.
Good job, John Gibbons and his crew, to find something in that showed that he was tagged before he got to the bag. So Navarro throws out his first base runner this year.
Brock Holt fouls it back. It's 3-2. So Mookie Betts caught for just the third time this season, but it took a Blue Jays challenge to determine, in fact, if he was safe. Torey Lovullo coming over to see if Betts could tell whether he hit the bag before he was tagged, but that's all academic now. High pop. Reyes calls off Valencia. Shortstop makes the catch. Well, the Blue Jays get a little bit of a break, and maybe they can turn this game around. Right now, things are a little bit flat as Betts was called out. He had singled, tried to steal second, was ruled safe, and then the call on the field was overturned.
So now you face the third hitter, Bogarts. Nobody on, 2 out, nobody on. You can have a quick inning here and get that offense back out on the field.
The fly ball to right. Bautista will go over near the foul line, makes the catch in foul territory. The inning is over indeed. A quick inning for Todd Redmond. Now, the Blue Jays got to figure out something against Eduardo Rodriguez. It'll be Bautista, Encarnacion, and Colabello.
Days in July, why not escape the heat for a little winter at Rogers Center? Join us as we turn the ballpark into a winter wonderland. Sunday, July 19th, as the Blue Jays host the Rays at 107. The first 20,000 fans will receive a pair of Blue Jays winter mittens. Go to BlueJays.com for more. Maybe we'll have some artificial snow on the artificial turf. Hopefully they do not turn the air conditioning up too low. Jeff, what?
It'll be a good opportunity to get a jump on winter, to get your winter Blue Jays mittens. Bautista, Encarnacion, and Colabello trying to sort out Eduardo Rodriguez. Rodriguez is from Valencia, Venezuela. He grew up a young fan of Johan Santana, and they actually had a chance to spend spring training together a couple years ago with the Orioles. And Rodriguez asked him if he would take a picture with him, and Santana was very obliging. And Rodriguez's father had always talked about what a great pitcher Johan Santana was, coming from Venezuela.
I imagine there's a lot of young pitchers whose hero was Johan Santana growing up. Outstanding. This guy's got it all, I think. Got a smooth delivery, a nice easy action, arm action. The ball comes out of his hand nicely.
Bautista hits it high, but not that deep into center field. Mookie Betts, the center fielder, makes the catch. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Jamie, that has been no-hit central lately, going back to Marco Estrada and Cody
Anderson
last night with the effort. This is popped over near the dugout, and that's going to be into the Camberwell, out of play. Salazar, 5 innings. 1 walk, 2 strikeouts.
Edwin's got to shorten it up right there. You can see it once again trying to lift that ball. Teams have been throwing him a lot of fastballs. They have been challenging with fastballs, but Edwin's been a little bit too long on his swing.
In that game last night down there at Tampa Bay, Cleveland beat Tampa Bay 7-1. A couple of Indians hitters had 3 hit efforts, Yan Gomes and Jason Kipnis. There's a deep drive to left field. De Aza is back, and he can't make the play. Bounces over the wall. I'll tell you what, The last two nights, the ball hasn't carried at all in this ballpark. That ball looked like it was hit well enough to go out of the yard, but it hits on the warning track and bounces out of play for a ground rule double.
Not like we have seen it over the last few years, where anything in the gap, it's like there's a wind tunnel that just shoots it out there. I thought Jose Bautista had a home run in last night's game, and it was caught. This one sounded like it had a shot to go out also, but it bounces out of the reach of Piazza and out of play for a ground rule double.
Chris Colabello grounded out to second.
Piazza almost came up with that ball in left center.
It's a 4-0 game, but for some reason it seems like it's about 8 or 9-0. Blue Jays need to get something going to wake up the offense.
Yeah, peck away here and there. You know, plate this run first of all. Get that first one in. Get that pitcher back on his heels.
Ball on the strike to Colabello. The last time the Blue Jays faced Rodriguez, they touched him up for 6 runs on 5 hits in the 4th. And 4 runs on 4 hits in the 5th. So they have broken it open against him in the past. There's a base hit to center. Encarnacion's being waved home. Here's the throw. It's offline, and the Blue Jays are on the board. Chris Colabello has sparked the Blue Jays as he comes through with an RBI single.
Coming into that at bat, he was hitting .400 with runners in scoring position. Nice read by Edwin Encarnacion. Runner at second base and a base hit to center field. He knew he could break right away on this pitch. Colabello sends it right back through the middle. Watch Encarnacion read it right off the bat, and he's gone. Betts had to momentarily wait for that ball and then makes an ill-advised throw right there. That ball, he misses the cutoff man. No chance to get Encarnacion, and Colabello wisely moves up a base and gets into second base.
Yeah, in that situation, it's a 4-0 score. The outfielder, you got to keep the double play in order. You just can't allow that batter runner to end up in scoring position. For the season now, Rodriguez has allowed a .304 average to the opponents with runners in scoring position. He's a long way from being out of the woods in this ballgame. Danny Valencia takes a mighty cut and fouls it off the catcher. Valencia getting the start at third base. 7th start of the season for Danny as Josh Donaldson gets the night as the DH. Where you look at the Blue Jay hitter numbers against left-handed pitching. Valencia comes in batting .404. Colabello .394. Donaldson .396. Martin .341, although he's not in the lineup tonight.
A team average of .311. .311 this season against left-handed pitching. You know, we've mentioned it before. This is a team that's right-handed top-heavy, the Blue Jays, and it's really no surprise what they've done against left-handed pitching this year.
That's a fair ball. Sandoval, long throw. Colabello is going to move up as Valencia is retired. Colabello saw where Sandoval had to release that throw from, and Takes advantage of the long throw to move up 90 feet.
There's the advantage of that throw home. Colabello goes to second base on the throw home and then goes to third base on the throw across the diamond. So instead of 2 outs and a runner at first base, you got 2 outs and a runner at third base.
Janner Navarro with a big at bat right here in the 4th, and Blake Swihart's going to go out and talk to his young pitcher, just to make sure they have their ducks in a row. Swihart's 23. Rodriguez is 22. There's not a lot of experience between the two in the battery tonight.
We started talking about that the other day. All the 22-year-old kids that are in the major leagues right now, and good ones.
We just saw Joey Gallo of the Rangers, but he was sent back to the minors tonight as Josh Hamilton was activated off the DL. He's 21. Bryce Harper, of course, we saw him in Washington with the Nationals.
They have 3 of them here. The Boston Red Sox, right up the middle. The pitcher, the shortstop, and the center fielder are all just 22 years old.
Changeup. And a good one, 1-2. Well, one of the best players in the game hasn't turned 24 yet, Mike Trout. And he hit his 20th home run last night. 4th time in his career he's done that. 2-2. 2 outs. A run in. Blue Jays need another run right here with 2 outs. Get him squarely back into this game.
Right guy at the plate to do it. He's been swinging a hot bat. Tiana Navarro.
Colabello with the RBI single. He's now at 3rd. Outside. Kevin Pillar lined out to the second baseman, his only time up. Navarro takes ball 4. So that'll bring Kevin Pillar to the plate. John Farrell wants the attention of his defense.
Keep your head up if you're in the infield right there. If they try a double steal.
Kevin Pillar coming into this game batting .370 for the month of June. 34 hits in 92 at bats. He needs a base hit right here. Bouncing ball up the middle. Bogarts will step on the bag. That ends the threat, but the Blue Jays get on the board. They score a run on 2 hits. Colabello with the RBI single. It's 4-1 Red Sox. Now time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zorn.
to select Rogers Ignite bundles. Find out how. Call 1-888-ROGERS-1 now. Hurry, offer ends soon. Buck?
Thank you very much, Barry Davis. As the Blue Jays have cut into a 4-0 deficit. It's 4-1 now as the Red Sox are set to bat in the fifth. David Ortiz homered against Marco Estrada in the third. That was his 57th career home run against the Blue Jays. And that ties him with Alex Rodriguez for the most against Toronto.
Change up out over the plate to David Ortiz from Marco. Down, and he just drops the bat on that one. That's a long one off the facing of the third deck. He's done that a few times against the Blue Jays in his career.
This is popped up over near the Blue Jays dugout. Navarro's got plenty of room. He makes the catch. Ortiz pops out. Marco Estrada was on a hot streak coming into this start. He had two terrific starts back-to-back against the Orioles and Tampa Bay, but it was a different story tonight.
Yeah, the error, first batter of the ball game, put him in the stretch right away, and he proceeded to walk four batters in the first inning, gave up a couple of runs. Those two runs were unearned because of the error. Gave up a home run in the second, a home run in the third inning, and then just 2 1/3 tonight for Marco.
Just never really got into the flow of the game. He threw 38 pitches in the first inning, 21 for balls.
24 more in the second inning.
Sandoval lifts it high and deep down the left side. Long run for Colabello, and it's into the seats, out of play. This is playable in shallow left. Now Colabello comes in, gets there, and waits and makes the catch. 2 down.
The 2015 Honda Civic is Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
The roof is closed at Rogers Center. It's been an overcast and rainy afternoon and early evening here in Toronto. Mike Napoli's been aboard twice. He had a bases loaded walk in the first and singled to center in the third. Two outs. Knocked down from the side, and Redmond jumps ahead with that slider.
So important to have a long man in that bullpen, isn't it? Where you can, when your starter gets knocked out, go to him for 3-4 innings.
Oh, nice play by Valencia. He backhands and fires to first. Quick inning for Tyler Edmond. 3 up, 3 down in the fifth. Blue Jays got a run in the bottom of the fourth. Now they put up the 0. Got to keep it going. Travis, Reyes, and Donaldson when we come back.
Fans enjoying those big comfy chairs in the TD Comfort Zone tonight are guests of TD who received an in-stadium seat upgrade. Today, share a video or photo showing your Blue Jays spirit by using the hashtag TD Tuesday and tag @BlueJays for a chance to win. Well, over in the Jays Care Community Clubhouse tonight, we welcome guests from Success Beyond Limits. Enjoy the game. Buck?
Certainly enjoy the game. A great opportunity to see the Blue Jays from their Jays Care Community Clubhouse. Blue Jays trail by 3. It'll be 9-1 for Toronto. Devin Travis lays off that outside pitch.
You were talking about the lineup fitting together. This is where it has really fit together for the Blue Jays. That bottom of the order has been outstanding all season long for the Blue Jays. That's where they've really started a lot of the rallies.
Travis hit 8 in the game yesterday, went 2 for 3 against Clay Buchholz. Reyes has been aboard once. He singled in his first at bat. We mentioned Rodriguez from Venezuela. He actually was a right-handed baseball player and broke his arm as a 7-year-old. And instead of missing time and waiting till his right arm healed, he started to throw left-handed. That ball is hit high and deep to right. That's on the run. He's not going to get it. It's off the wall. Devin Travis will stop at second. Here come the Blue Jays.
He's got outstanding power the other way, Devin Travis. Even though it's a breaking ball, watch him stay back on that pitch before he recognizes it and then slams it to right field. Stay back, breaking ball, and then great power the other way. Betts playing shallow, cannot come up with it. Neither can Jackie Bradley. He had a good start here in the 5th inning. Yeah, I read that story about Rodriguez, how he just started throwing with his left hand because he broke it as a youngster. I think he's pretty happy he did break that arm.
Yeah, it worked out. You throw 94 as a left-hander with movement, you're an exception. You're just another right-hander.
Yeah.
Throwing 94. Reyes with a mighty cut. It's a ball and a strike to the leadoff man. The Blue Jays need to move the runner up. You get a leadoff double, you got to cash him in. Get him over, get him in. That's what hitting coaches will talk to you about in these situations.
Get on. Somehow find a way to get on base.
Blue Jays scored their run last inning on an Encarnacion ground rule double and a Colabello RBI single. Reyes bounces it to third. Nice play by Sandoval. Travis will move up. Another good piece of base running by Devin Travis. 1 out. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. For Machado, that's home run number 16. Chris Davis has hit 18. His 18. He's hit 2, 17 and 18. Josh Hamilton back in the lineup for Texas has gone 2 for 3. Mitch Moreland has another home run tonight. He had 2 last night. Josh Donaldson with Travis at third and 1 out.
You know, as a third baseman, when you got a runner at second base and the ball's hit you, you don't have time to look at that runner, and I think Devin knows that. Travis keeps his feet moving, And then he is able to move up without a throw. Third baseman Pablo Sandoval made a nice play on that backhand. And again, he didn't have time to look at the runner, running back or anything like that, or Reyes would have beat it. So he had to make a decision, and so did Travis.
Ball in the dirt, smothered by Swihart.
But the whole key to that, Devin Travis moving up, is he kept his feet moving. So he was in motion so he could bounce and then change direction and go to third base. You get caught flat-footed like that, or where you're just standing there, it's tough to get going again and move up.
We had a good cut. Well, these 90 feet sprints by the Blue Jays base runners are important. Blue Jays have scored just 4 runs in their last 3 games. So you take advantage when things aren't going well. You've got to do the little things to try to spark the offense.
And there's going to be times you're going to run into hot pitchers who are making pitches where you got to pack away and manufacture runs, if you will.
Donaldson strikes out the pitch up and away, and the catcher Swihart holds on to the foul tip.
Second time tonight that Josh Donaldson has gone down via the strikeout. Good pitch by Rodriguez. This is an elevated cutter. And he swings and foul tips it into the mitt of Swihart. And now you need a 2-out base hit.
Jose Bautista has walked and flied out. Not leaving anything to chance, the catcher Blake Swihart has gone out to the mound. Mike Napoli, the first baseman, comes over. Napoli, a former catcher, wants to make sure these 2 youngsters have their heads together. A little bit harder fastball there at 95.
Yeah, he's reaching back for something. He's been pitching the right-handers away with that cutter. And he's, for the most part, been able to hit his spot up and away, and the Blue Jays just have not been able to get on top of it yet tonight.
Rodriguez lost his footing as he anticipated landing on that slope of the mound, and his foot just gave way. Watch his front foot. Looked like he hit the side of a landing hole.
And then twisted that ankle just a little bit. He's lucky he didn't throw that ball to the backstop.
That's got to be unsettling for a pitcher. You stumble and fall down, and then you're not really sure what's going to happen on your next pitch.
On the next one, my footing going to fall again. That's why you got to kick at that dirt. Practice a couple throws. It's a big pitch right here. 3-2.
Encarnacion doubled and scored in his last at bat. Bautista had to protect with 2 strikes.
We've seen that happen a couple of times this year where the pitcher stumbles on the mound. Remember Felix Hernandez got his spikes caught on that landing foot, stumbled a little bit.
Many pitchers say this is one of the best mounds in all of baseball. Bautista hits it on the ground, Bogarts at short has it. The inning is over. The Blue Jays get a leadoff double here in the 5th and can't cash it in. We'll go to the 6th. It's a 4-1 game, and here comes the Home Hardware cleanup crew. Brought to you by Natura, Home Hardware's exclusive line of safe, environmentally friendly cleaning products. Let's go!
Junior Dre's Saturday presented by Boston Pizza. It goes July 18th when the Tampa Bay Rays pay a visit for a 107 start. Join us pregame outside Gate 10 for inflatables, activities, and lots of fun. After the game, kids 14 and under can run the bases just like the pros. Go to BlueJays.com for tickets, and hopefully we'll get some nice weather on July 18th. Buck?
Sooner or later, we're going to get some nice weather. Just a matter of time. July 18th, right after the All-Star break, Tampa Bay will be in for that series, and then the Blue Jays will head out west. Play the Oakland A's and the Seattle Mariners.
I see a lot of road games on the horizon for the Blue Jays. That's why these games here at home are so important. They have to win these games. It's so tough to win on the road.
Alejandro De Aza.
You have a 10-game road trip right before the All-Star break, and then you got that West Coast trip in July. So Blue Jays have the work cut out for them.
That 10-day road trip before the break will be a tough one. Detroit, Kansas City, Chicago. 3 tough Central Division teams.
That I heard today around the batting cage, looking ahead as that ball's popped up.
Garnachon, the first baseman, makes the catch on the warning track.
10 games on that road trip. 5 left-handers, and you know how the Blue Jays have been hammering the lefties this year.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. Brooks Jacoby and Eric Owens, the 2 hitting coaches, they made sure those lefties were lined up. They were talking about the matchups they were going to get, and I think they said they're not going to get Chris Sale in Chicago.
Yeah, and still face all those left-handers. And that's a good sign right there. Chris Sale's one of the best in the American League.
Bo Schultz loosening up, and what a job Todd Redmond has done. Redmond came on in relief with 1 out in the 3rd. This is his 3rd inning to this point. He has retired 1 batter here in the 5th. It's exactly what you're supposed to do as a long man. Come out, put some zeros on the board, give your team a chance to get back in the game.
Yeah, and go deep. Go deep into the game. Redmond came with 1 out in the 3rd inning, finished that inning. He had a clean 4th, a clean 5th, and now he's trying to get through the 6th, and that would do wonders for John Gibbons and Pete Walker if he could finish this inning right here.
Redmond threw 61 pitches earlier in the season on the 18th of May right here at Rogers Center. 4 innings. That last pitch he threw was his 39, so he's got a little bit left in his tank. Ground ball to Hopper to the second baseman. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. And Danny Salazar, 7 innings of 1 hit ball. Boy, Cleveland's getting some great pitching lately. And Cleveland's trying to become a factor once again. They're still 7 games under 500, 11 games back, but many picked them to be the favorite to win the Central. That's a tough division.
Yeah, a very tough division on the strength of their pitching. I think that's where a lot of people gave them votes to do something. But you got Kansas City, Minnesota's been a pleasant surprise. Detroit's always very dangerous. Chicago did a lot this offseason, thinking that they would climb up in the standings. That hasn't happened. They're 10 games under 500. And then there's Cleveland with that good young pitching staff.
Kansas City has a 5.5 game lead over second place Minnesota. Kansas City could be there for a while as a contending ball club. They got a young core of homegrown talent, and they keep developing very well. They've got some prospects on the horizon. Brandon Finnegan, left-handed pitcher that came up and pitched for him last year. He's still in the minor. They got some guys coming too.
You know what else they have? They have the will to win. I mean, they want to get back to the World Series. It shows in the way that they play the game. You watch them. They bring it every night.
Every night. They're pulling for each other. They're grinding out at bats. They've got a good defensive club. And maybe one of the best bullpens in all the baseball.
That's why I think they're going to make some kind of deal to get a starting pitcher.
Redmond loses Jackie Bradley Jr. And that brings up the leadoff man. And John Gibbons comes out of the dugout. He makes the call for Bull Schultz. So Redmond will lead this ball game with 2 outs in the 6th. He did a nice job. Redmond allowing just 2 hits. He'll hand the ball over to John Gibbons. In turn, will turn it over to Bull Schultz. Top of the order, Mookie Betts has singled in 3 at bats.
And Red Sox play Game 3 of their 4-game set, 12:30 Eastern for the pregame show on Sportsnet. And if you want to keep up with what's going on in the NHL, you can watch the game on Sportsnet 1, as we'll have free agent updates all throughout the game. Buck?
Barry, it'll be a great afternoon tomorrow on Canada Day. Wow, that's a pretty bold statement. The Jays are as hot as my new wife. Try to put your wife ahead of the Jays, and that'd be a better way to start.
Yeah, you better. You better. This is Bo Schultz, 7 games this year. A very nice surprise for the Blue Jays. No record, but a nice ERA at 1.5. The surprise is how hard he throws. He's 94, 95. We've seen a couple of 96s with some good movement.
Mookie Betts extended his hit streak against the Blue Jays to 12 straight. He had a single in the 4th. Then stole second base, but Blue Jays asked to challenge the call on the field, and the call was overturned. Betts was called out. Check swing tapper. Schultz lets it go. Travis is there to back him up. Bo Schultz gets out of the inning in support of Todd Redmond. We'll go to the bottom of the 6th. The Blue Jays trail 4-1 to Boston.
The first one goes Friday, July 17th when the Blue Jays host the Reyes at 7:07 p.m. Get to the ballpark early for our pregame festival outside Gate 10. Gates will open at 4:30, and you can enjoy a live performance by special guest Dean Brody in the license area. Go to BlueJays.com for tickets. Buck?
It's a great way to start your Friday night. Come on out and enjoy pregame festivities outside of Gate 10. And come on inside and watch the ball game. Edwin Encarnacion is 1 for 2. He had a ground rule double in the 4th. Pops this one up a mile high. Napoli, the first baseman, makes the catch in fair territory. That's 1 down. Blue Jays just haven't been able to get any sustained offense against Eduardo Rodriguez.
They had a great opportunity last inning to scratch out a run. Leadoff double by Travis, turns the lineup over, and they just cannot score that run. Against a good pitcher like this and a good bullpen of the Red Sox, you have to chip away, and you have to take advantage of those opportunities when they present themselves.
Yeah, and the Blue Jays, they've had some pretty good base running efforts tonight to get into scoring position. They had a man at third base with 1 out. Donaldson and Bautista couldn't cash in the base runner from third.
So now they got to go back to work against Rodriguez. It looks like he might be getting close to the end here. He's up to 90 pitches, and there's some movement down in that bullpen for the Red Sox.
Caramello fights off that inside pitch. Rodriguez hasn't lost anything off of his fastball. You see the Red Sox pen. That's Tommy Lane, the left-hander, and Matt Barnes is the right-hander. John Farrell would probably like to stay away from Junichi Tozawa and Ogando another night. They have pitched a lot lately.
A lot. And their numbers against the Blue Jays have not been very good. That's why what Clay Buchholz did last night was so good for the manager of the Boston Red Sox, pitching deep into the ball game.
Anytime you get a 7-8 inning start in the first game of a 4-game series, that's a real bonus. Colabella hits it sharply, backhanded by Holt. What a nice play. Mr. Utility Brock Holt goes behind second, slides and makes the grab, takes his time and throws out Colabella.
And he's got plenty of arm to finish off that play. First of all, he got to it with the backhand and the slide, and plenty of arm. Again, he's played some outfield, so he's got enough arm. Finishes it off with a nice play.
Five straight retired by Rodriguez. You can see why the Red Sox wanted to trade for Rodriguez. He's got a live arm and a nice delivery.
Smooth, isn't it? Smooth delivery. He gets his arm up and he gets it through. The ball comes out nicely, and he's got movement. Late movement on that fastball. Cuts it, sinks it. He's just going to get better and better, I think. Good job on their scouting, or their scouts, to go out there and see that this is the guy they wanted when they gave up Andrew Miller.
He strikes out Valencia, 3 up, 3 down in the 6th. Eduardo Rodriguez with a 4-1 lead as we head to the 7th.
Fans, if you're keeping up with the American League East, you're going to want to stick right here with Sportsnet at the top of the clock. It's Game 2 between the Yankees and the Angels. You can see that nationally on Sportsnet Pacific. That's at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific. The Yankees lost last night. And guys, the Orioles and Reyes both losing again tonight. So the Blue Jays do have an opportunity, if they can come back into this game, of closing that gap even further, possibly joining the rest of those teams in first place in the East. But they got to get some runs first.
It's going to be a dogfight all season long, and sooner or later somebody's going to pull the trigger on a trade, and they're going to boost their fortunes in the East. The Red Sox are holding up the entire East Division. They start action tonight 7 games back.
You know, on top of, and you mentioned somebody's going to pull a trigger on a trade, on top of getting a pretty good player, you know what that does to a clubhouse? It infuses just some energy throughout that clubhouse.
Brock Holt singles through the left side of the infield, leadoff single here.
The 2015 Honda Civic is Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Brock Holt's aboard with a single to start the 7th. His first hit of the night. He's 1 for 4. Xander Bogaerts, the shortstop. Bogaerts has a hit streak at stake. He's 0 for 2 with a walk. Bogaerts scored in the first. He scored the second run in that first inning. Came in on a bases loaded walk to Alejandro De Aza. Double play would be nice, and Bo Schultz has just the pitch to do it.
Yeah, he's got good movement on all of his pitches. Good hard sinking fastball and a nice little tight slider. And pitching in some bigger innings for the Blue Jays towards the back end of games now with that good arm. What a job for Todd Redmond. 3 1/3 innings. It's the longest relief outing of the season by Todd. He had a 4-inning outing against LA, but that was a start, if you remember that spot start.
Upstairs, it's 2-0. Bo Schultz is 29 years old. He was signed originally by the Oakland Athletics, and it was just kind of a roll of the dice. Oakland needed a pitcher, and he had pitched at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois. But he didn't pitch until his junior year. Came out, had a good arm, made the team, and got on the radar for pro ball.
Do you know who recognized him from the Oakland A's organization?
Got some Blue Jay ties.
Gil Patterson. I was working in the Oakland A's organization at the time. He recognized that he had a pretty good arm and pushed the A's to sign him.
Schultz is 6'3". He's got a nice pitcher's body, long arms, and a lot of great movement.
Good pitch there. He comes from the same high school as Clayton Kershaw.
Went to high school in Highland Park, Texas, suburb of Dallas, and Clayton Kershaw and Matthew Stafford both went to Highland Park High School. Matthew Stafford, of course, the quarterback of the Detroit Lions.
What is it with those guys that come out of that area? Everybody seems to have a good arm.
This is a bouncing ball, just foul, and the Blue Jays are lucky it was. Looked like it hit that chalk line just past the bag at third and kicked to the left. Andy Valencia was there. It took a funny hop on him.
Yeah, watch this crazy hop right down the line. Valencia gets over to make that play, and it just bounces past him. You see him looking back at that area where that ball bounced.
Anytime those balls are chopped off this artificial surface, you can anticipate they're going to have a lot of spin on it. And that second bounce is really going to be tricky. That's fouled off Navarro. Might have caught him on the knee. 2 balls and 2 strikes, nobody out. We are in the 7th, and Boston has a 4-1 lead.
It does indeed hit. Navarro breaking ball, and you see Bogaerts right off the top of the baseball and off the ankle of Deanna Navarro.
There goes Holt. Devin Travis is right there, and he didn't make a tag as Holt slid into Travis just as Devin fielded the ground ball. And they made contact. Travis didn't tag Holt. They collided, but there was no tag.
It looked like he wanted to, and Holt might have spiked him when he slid into him one time. There's the catch. His legs, they just got tangled up. He goes over to first base to finish off the play. It looked like he wanted to tag him, but there's the slide right into the shin of Travis. and he feels the pain of that. So did Brock Holt.
Yeah, it looked like they banged their shins on that play. Bogarts is out 4-3. Holt advances to second. David Ortiz 1 for 3. That homer came in the third inning. It was a changeup from Marco Estrada. Tony Randazzo down at third, so no swing from Ortiz. That make Ortiz hit a fastball here. Schultz has got a good fastball with a lot of movement.
Yeah, challenge him. Either go in, up, make him reach for it. Got to challenge him.
Ground ball. Reyes backhands, throws over his shoulder, right on the money. What a nice play by Reyes. Throws out David Ortiz. He was playing Ortiz up the middle, had to go back to his right, throw over his shoulder.
Jose made a play like that in last night's ball game in the hole at shortstop. This time he is playing him to pull, catches it on the backhand, and then you can see his momentum taking him away. Look where he is set up on the first base side of the bag, and then all the way across the diamond. What an arm for Reyes. And he records the out at first base.
It's a big play for Reyes, and now with 2 outs, Pablo Sandoval. He's a free swinger, goes after that first pitch and fouls it back. Sandoval spent 7 seasons with the San Francisco Giants. Came up as a 21-year-old in 2008 as a catcher.
I remember that. He wasn't going to be a catcher in San Francisco, not with Posey there.
Giants signed him as an amateur free agent in 2003 out of Venezuela. He's a 2-time All-Star. Made the National League All-Star team in 11 and 12. Sinker. Travis throws him out. Good job by Bo Schultz. He's able to get around the leadoff single. Throws up another 0. We'll go to the bottom of the 7th. Navarro, Pilar, and Travis. Blue Jays trying to get back in this game. They trail by 3.
Coverage, headlines, analysis, and schedule. Visit sportsnet.ca/Blue Jays or join the conversation at Sportsnet. And right now on sportsnet.ca, Shai Davidi writes that Don't be surprised if Alex Anthopoulos does find a way to add some salary in the trade market before this season is out. In fact, on The Fan the other day, he told Jeff Blair, he used a quote from Warren Buffett saying, "It's better to buy a wonderful company at a fair price than a fair company at a wonderful price." So read into that, guys, what you will.
Well, I think he wants to add quality. There's no question about that. It's just how much it's going to cost when you go out onto that market. Tommy Lane, the left-hander, will make his 31st appearance of the season.
24 of those games out of those 30 games are scoreless for Lane. He's had some very good numbers, and he's been a very nice bridge to the end of the game for the Boston Red Sox. He's got a herky-jerky, funky delivery, hides the ball well. He's got a lot of movement on his pitches, doesn't strike out a lot of batters. It's a lot of ground ball outs. It's been a nice surprise.
This is his 5th appearance against the Blue Jays. He's worked a total of 3 innings. He's allowed 4 hits, 2 earned runs. Off the end of the bat, Napoli backhands and flips to Lane. Navarro's retired, 1 down.
Swing for the fences and save during the DIY Expert Sale. Only at Home Building Center and Home Hardware Building Center.
Folks shopping at the Jays shop here at Rogers Center, getting some new Blue Jays memorabilia. Tomorrow is Canada Day, so you got to have some red on tomorrow.
You going to wear some red tomorrow?
Oh, am I going to wear some red? You bet.
Did I even have to ask?
Blue Jays uniforms are going to be interesting. I saw them in the clubhouse. They're really pretty nice. A little departure from what they've done in the last couple of years.
I believe the Red Sox are going to wear some type of emblem or something on their jersey recognizing Canada Day.
Nice touch. Kevin Pillar's 0 for 2. He has a 1-1 count of Tommy Lane. To left field. Kevin Pillar is aboard. A 1-out single for Pillar. For Kevin, that's his 35th hit in the month of June. He has really put together a terrific comeback month after hitting a .181 in May.
Finally got one by the Panda there at third base. You can see he's down low, anticipating a hard hit ball, gets it just out of the reach. Blue Jays have their 5th hit of the night.
Devin Travis had a double to lead off the 5th. He was stranded at third base. Sooner or later, these Blue Jay bats are going to come alive. The single by Pillar snapped 7 straight, retired by Boston. Lane's got an unusual arm stroke in that he drops it back behind him, and it's really a long extension, and it can create timing problems for hitters.
Yeah, and he hides the ball really well. You can see it's a long arm swing. Stays over that rubber a really long time, and then creates a very difficult angle with his arm as that ball's coming towards home plate.
Lane signed originally with the Arizona Diamondbacks. San Diego picked him up in 2012, and then he signed as a minor league free agent with the Red Sox in November of 2014. Bouncing ball chopped toward first. Napoli will flip to Lane, and Travis is retired. Eduardo Rodriguez took the loss the last time he faced the Blue Jays. Tonight he's in line for the win. He throws 97 pitches, goes 6 innings, allows just 4 hits and earned run. That was an RBI single by Chris Colabello. He walked 2 and struck out 4. He had a little bit of a control issue in the first and was able to strand a pair. Then he seemed to sort things out.
Yeah, he looks good. Young pitcher, good stuff, in line for the win. Last time out, just 3 2/3 innings, gave up 6 earned runs against Baltimore. A chance to win this ball game if the Bullpen holds it for him.
Reyes reached base in his first at bat. He's 1 for 3. Many people with the Blue Jays believe that Reyes has a lot to do with the offense. He gets on base, things happen.
Yeah, he's the spark. Right at the top of the lineup, he gives you a lot of energy when he gets on base. He has a knack for coming up with big base hits for the Blue Jays.
He was on base 4 times Friday night when the Blue Jays beat the Rangers 12-2. Since Friday night, he's reached base just twice in 15 plate appearances.
Blue Jays haven't hit a lot since Friday.
There's a deep drive to left field. Reyes is put in charge in it. Get up, gone! Home run for Reyes. Run number 4 for Jose Reyes.
That's what we mean, the igniter. You know who Brooke Jacoby said he reminds him of is Paul Molitor. What Molitor used to do for those Milwaukee Brewer teams when he was the leadoff batter, he always seemed to be in the middle of everything. And when he's out of the lineup, the offense just doesn't seem to be the same. Reyes is in the lineup, and he puts a charge into this breaking ball. Breaking ball down and in. That's exactly where you want it if you're a right-handed batter. Quickly get that bat hit through. Diaz's come up with some great catches for the Red Sox. Can't come up with that one, and the Blue Jays are down by 1.
First home run as a right-handed hitter for Reyes this season. He knocks Tommy Lane out of the game. Alexio Ganda will come into the ball game. Reyes' 2-run home run has made it a 1-run ball game. 4-3 Boston.
Fans, don't forget there's still time to get your vote in for Josh Donaldson to be a starter at the All-Star game. He is in the lead now, but you still have time to get your votes in. Go to BlueJays.com. Vote up to 35 times per email address. You have until Thursday night at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. Buck?
Alexio Ganda works to Josh Donaldson and delivers a first pitch strike.
There are Ogando's numbers in 32 games, 2-0 with a 3 earned run average. This is the 4th time that the Blue Jays have seen him this season. 4th game. He last pitched on Sunday. You mentioned some rest. He threw 1 inning, gave up a hit, a walk, and had a couple of strikeouts against Tampa Bay. Jose Reyes has put the Blue Jays within 1 run.
Reyes is on base. He knocked Tommy Lane out of the ball game with his 4th home run of the season. Also his 4th home run in June. No June swoon for the Blue Jays. The bats have come alive. The starting pitching has turned it on. Everything has improved in June. This is the final day of June. The Blue Jays have an 18-8 record in the month of June.
Looks like a pretty simple formula what Ogando's trying to do to Josh Donaldson.
Heat him up away.
Heat him up away. Fastballs away. Up or away. Either one. Just so he can't extend those arms and hit a home run.
Pulled that one down and away. He's got a big arm. 97 miles an hour. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Bautista will be next if Donaldson can reach against Ogando. Cutter. 90 miles an hour, but wide.
And off the plate, you can see Josh. He's looking out there now. 5 straight pitches away from him. Set your sights out there.
Sharply hit. Holt dives, makes another fine play. Brock Holt has had quite a night defensively. He throws out Donaldson, but the big bat for the Blue Jays so far, Jose Reyes. With a man aboard, he hits his first home run as a right-handed hitter over the wall in left. His second hit of the night. He's made it a 4-3 Boston lead.
VIP trip to catch the Blue Jays in Seattle. Just feed a photo showing your Blue Jays spirit using the hashtag RoamOn and hashtag Blue Jays Contest for your chance to win. Visit BlueJays.com/RoamOn contest for full details. In fact, that is got to be one of the best spots to win a trip to Seattle and Safeco Field.
It will be a great trip this season. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this year. The Blue Jays will be in Seattle, and you can bet there'll be a lot of Blue Jay fans. So sign up and join in on the fun out on the West Coast. The Blue Jays will play 3 in Oakland before they go to Seattle for the Friday night opener.
We have a lot of fun out there in Seattle with the fans. Get to interact with them. A lot of them stay right at our hotel.
They are all over in Seattle. Napoli didn't like the call. He's behind 0-2. Bo Schultz came in to get the final out of the 6th inning. Napoli, De Aza, and Swihart for Boston here in the 8th.
Well, the Blue Jays bullpen tonight. Todd Redmond, 3 1/3, 2 hits, no runs. Bo Schultz working on his third inning. Got the last out, pitched last inning, now pitching again.
Went right back to that same spot. See if the umpire would respond. Will Little is behind the plate tonight. Napoli is 1 for 2. He walked in the first, singled in the third, and grounded out in the fifth. Reaches for that outside pitch. The Blue Jays have had a lot of success with Napoli in the past, pounding him inside. Bo Schultz hasn't gone there just yet.
Everything's been away. It's a lot like Chris Davis of the Baltimore Orioles. Big power hitter. You can try and jam him. That'd be a good place to go.
Or you can throw him a breaking ball and strike him out. First strikeout for Schultz tonight. Napoli swings and misses at the breaking ball.
A lot of fastballs away, and then you throw the slider, and as a hitter you think it's another fastball, and you get that type of result right there. You swing right over the top of that baseball. Mo Schultz has a good arm.
Alejandro De Aza had a 3-hit game last night. He's got a bunt single tonight. It's interesting how this bullpen has evolved as the season's gone on. Role players you didn't anticipate to be high leverage pitchers are stepping up. Bo Schultz is one of them.
Steve Delabar.
He's pitched well.
He has pitched really well.
Delabar did not make the team out of spring training, but he never lost his focus. His ball velocity is back. His splitter is biting. He's been given some high leverage situations lately. Bouncing ball. Encarnacion steps on the bag, and De Aza's retired.
Mo Schultz is another one of those pitchers out of the bullpen that did not make the team out of spring training.
He threw the ball well in the spring. He certainly pitched well enough to make the team, and so did Delabar. He felt like he should have made the team, but they had some guys that were throwing well, including Miguel Castro, who's now active again, back in Dunedin, pitching down there.
They also elected to go with 3 left-handed relievers, if you remember that. Colt Hines made the team out of spring training.
At one point, they had Jeff Francis working out of the bullpen. Right. There's been a lot of changes. Marco Estrada, of course, was in the bullpen early in the season.
Yeah, started in the bullpen.
The 2 big surprises coming out of spring training, Miguel Castro and Roberto Osuna, they both made the team. Well, now Osuna has developed into the closer. This is the catcher, Blake Swihart. Fouls it out. 2 balls and a strike. But isn't that interesting how each year everybody makes a big deal about who's going to make the opening day roster? 3 days later, it's a different team.
It's so fluid, you know, it changes daily. Not just because of injury, but ineffectiveness. Guys move around all the time. And from here until the trade deadline, you might see a lot of movement.
There is Osuna, who has been a real savior for the Blue Jays no matter where he has pitched. He's been impressive. Two and two outs. We're in the top of the 8th. It's a 4-3 Boston lead. Ground ball. Travis at second. Gathers and fires. Bo Schultz, good inning. 3 up, 3 down. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. Blue Jays are down by a run. Now it's time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zong.
off of work. You just have to get an Acura luxury suite, hold your business meeting, and enjoy the baseball game at the same time. Account executives will find the package that best suits your needs. Go to BlueJays.com/luxury seats for more details. But
thank you very much, Barry. Looks like a lot of people are having a good time in the luxury suites tonight, and why not? It's been a terrific ball game. The hits are even at 6 apiece. The Red Sox have a 4-3 lead. And a big part of the Blue Jays lineup, the meat of the order, Bautista, Encarnacion, Colomelo facing Alexio Gando here in the 8th. Bautista is 0 for 2 with a walk. He is now 0 for his last 23, which is really unusual. It doesn't happen very often.
All that means is Jose's due. He is due.
His longest 0 for with the Blue Jays is 0 for 24. That happened in June of 2010. You know what happened in 2010?
He had a pretty good year, didn't he?
He had 50 home runs. His longest 0 for of his career is 0 for 26. That's from July 30th to August 30th of 2008. That spans his time with the Pirates and his first few at-bats with the Blue Jays. 0-2. Bouncing ball. Sandoval throws on the run. 1 down. Edwin Encarnacion has gone 1 for 3. He doubled and scored in the 4th. Ogando has been tough on Encarnacion. Edwin is just 2 for 11 against the bigger righty.
Yeah, they would meet when he was with the Texas Rangers. He was a starter. He was a closer. He pitched some in relief. Bounced back and forth. He's done a good job with the Red Sox this season. Came into this game with the 2nd most relief innings for the Red Sox. Good fastball and a good slider. That's basically what you're going to get from Ogando.
Ogando started out with the Oakland A's, and Texas took him in a Rule 5 trial.
Wasn't he a position player?
Yeah, I think he was a position player early in his career. Had a great arm and made the transition. He started 29 games for the Rangers in 2011. That's when he threw a career high 169 innings. And then he started to have arm problems, going back and forth from the bullpen to the rotation. Never really seems to work. We have seen it with a couple of guys how it affects them. Daniel Bard was a terrific relief pitcher for the Red Sox, and they tried to make him a starter, and we haven't heard from him since.
Nope.
Jabba Chamberlain came up as a terrific reliever with the Yankees. Took the city by storm. Then they tried to make him a starter. He hasn't been the same since.
Yeah, to Jabba Chamberlain, he was a starter in the minor leagues, but then came up to the big leagues. It looked like he was going to be the heir apparent to Mariano Rivera in that bullpen. You're right. Then they moved him to the starting rotation, and they had the Jabba rules, and he was never the same. Still has had a pretty productive career.
But it looked like he was perfectly suited to work out of the bullpen.
Yes.
He had the temperament, he had the attitude, he had the flair. Full count, 1 out. Off the end of the bat. Sandoval gobbles it up at 3rd. 2 down. Chris Colabello has an RBI tonight. His 29th of the season. He had an RBI single in the 4th. So just the second at bat for Colabello against Ogando. He is 1 for 1. Tried to check his swing and went around. Ogando has retired all 3 batters he's faced since entering the game. He took over for Tommy Lane after Lane surrendered a 2-run home run to Reyes.
He's on a nice little hot streak for the Red Sox also. Came into this game on a nice little scoreless streak. Pitching in the 7th inning or pitching in the 8th inning for this Red Sox team.
He's got a 10 1/3 inning scoreless streak over 10 appearances prior to tonight.
Now make that 11 1/3. He's got 3 outs, 3 ground ball outs since he has come in. Justin Smoke has picked up the bat.
Danny Valencia was the scheduled batter. Smoke has come out on deck. Colabello trying to keep the inning alive. Lays off that high fastball. Danny Valencia got the start at third base. Russell Martin had the night off. Boston won the opener 3-1 last night. This is the second game of a 4-game series. We'll be back at it tomorrow afternoon on Canada Day. Ogando strikes out Colabello. He retires the side in order in the 8th, and he goes right through the heart of the Blue Jays order. Bautista, Encarnacion ground out. Colabello strikes out. We'll go to the 9th. It's a 4-3 ball game. Steve Delabar enters the game. The bullpen has been terrific tonight.
That begins tomorrow. You can watch Hockey Central's signing season beginning at 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. We'll have expert analysis, and also while you watch the Blue Jays Canada Day game tomorrow, if you flip it over to Sportsnet 1, you'll see updates all throughout the game. Buck?
Should be a big day tomorrow afternoon, and make sure you join in. Steve Delabar, the 3rd reliever to work tonight. The bullpen has been locked down tonight.
Good numbers for Delabar. You see just 20 games. 2-0 with a 137 earned run average for Delabar. He's pounding that fastball in there, and that split, the action on the splitter has been a lot better. Throwing more sliders. make a small adjustment, and things have been very good for him.
Todd Redmond went 3 1/3. He allowed 2 hits, no runs. Then Bo Schultz goes 2 1/3. He allowed just 1 hit and no runs. Now Delabar trying to put up another 0 here. The Red Sox haven't scored since the 3rd. Jackie Bradley Jr. had his first home run of the season in the 2nd off of Marco Estrada. A disappointing outing for sure for Marco, who had been really riding the crest of a wave.
Yeah, the walks just did him in. He just could not find that release point. Steve Delabar finds it right there. There's the good fastball. It's in a good spot. It stayed away from Jackie Bradley Jr. This is thrown right to the glove. That's exactly where he wanted that ball. Good pitch.
Boy, that's a good 2-strike pitch down and away. You can see how Bradley just reaches for it, trying to spoil a good pitch, and he couldn't do it. 1 out. Back to the top of the order, Mookie Betts. He rips it past Valencia. Headed for second. Here's the throw from Colabello. It's right on time, but a little bit late, accurate, but late as Mookie Betts has his 2nd hit of the night. Boy, he didn't waste any time.
We were talking earlier how quick his bat is. That is something that you just can't teach. You either have it or you don't have it, and he has it. He turns on this pitch and gets it right past Valencia down the left field line, and with his speed, that's going to be extra base. So you can see that one just tipped right off the glove of Valencia, but it was hit sharply.
Well, he didn't waste any time. That's his 18th double. He's got 5 triples and 8 home runs. Brock Holtz 1 for 4 tonight. This is a big run at second base. You've got to save this run. Mookie Betts scored the first run of the game in the 1st inning.
That's why the infield is playing deep on the right side against Brock Holt to try and keep that ball on the infield. You're right. This is a big run that the Blue Jays can save. If you have to go into the bottom of the 9th down by 1 run, a whole lot easier than 2.
Danny Valencia is the scheduled batter in the bottom of the 9th, then Deanna Navarro and Kevin Pillar. One and 2 now to Brock Holt. Pulled that one way inside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Good splitter. Bounce to first. Gonna be a foot race. Delabar gets there just in time, as Holt made it quick down the first baseline, and it was bang bang at first. That's the 2nd out of the inning.
And then when he catches the ball, you can't forget about that base runner at second base. They do that drill all the time in spring training. The 3-1, the first baseman, the flip to the pitcher, he catches the ball, steps on the bag, and then turn right away and turn around. Delabar gets over there, catches it, turn around quickly, and check that runner. He does it perfectly.
He got himself in a throwing position should that base runner head for home. Xander Bogaerts batting with 2 outs. He drives this ball deep to center. Pillar is on the run. Can he get there? Yes! Kevin Pillar runs down another ball in the alley. He keeps it a 1-run game. He gets terrific jumps and takes great routes to the baseball. He had this one in his back pocket the whole way. Bottom of the ninth, the Blue Jays are down by a run thanks to Pilar's running catch. It's brought to you by the 2015 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car 17 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
We head to the bottom of the ninth inning thanks to this hit by Jose Reyes. Blue Jays are now down by 1 run thanks to Jose's drive of the game. Deep to left field, his 4th home run of the season, right-handed into the bullpen. That made it 4-3. That's where we start the bottom of the ninth inning, thanks to that hit, the drive of the game by Jose Reyes.
Koji Uehara retired the side in order in last night's game to pick up his 17th save of the season. It took him just 11 pitches. And when you look at the relief whip, since 2013, Uehara leads the pack ahead of some pretty good relief pitchers.
Those are all power pitchers. Davis, Betances, Doolittle, and Pollard. Uehara a little bit different than those guys. He's not going to walk you. Yes, that's why the whip is down, but he does it with a splitter. A lot of splitters and a fastball that maybe touches 90 miles an hour now. But it's all about location for Uehara and the effectiveness of that splitter. 17 for 19 in saves. He's pitched 27 innings this year.
Danny Valencia is leading off against Uehara. Drives this ball into right. Jackie Bradley Jr. comes in a few steps, 1 down. So now with 1 out, it's time for a preview of what's coming up next on Sportsnet Central. Here's Ken Reed and Ivanka Osmak. Thank you, Ivanka. That'll be coming up right after this ball game, man. Yano Navarro. The catcher will step in. He is 0 for 2 with a walk. Uehara just 88 miles an hour, but it is on the block, down and away for a strike.
That's the whole key to Uehara is where he throws those pitches. Because he doesn't throw that hard, he's got outstanding location.
There's a fly ball to right. Bradley cruises over to his right. 2 fly ball outs. Another thing Uehara is efficient. We mentioned he retired the side in order last night on just 11 pitches. Well, the Red Sox bullpen, Ogando and now Uehara, retired 6 straight. You get to those 2 guys, and you can include Junichi Tsuzawa in that.
Right.
Those 3 are pretty shut down at the end of a ball game. Pilar hits it off the end of the bat. That ball had a chance to squib back into fair territory.
That one was 80 miles an hour right there. Quite a contrast from Ogando, who threw the 7th, finished off the 7th, and then the 8th inning for the Boston Red Sox.
Throwing 97. Upstairs at 88. Pilar goes upstairs again and fouls the ball out of play. Oh, and 2. Pilar gets a piece of that splitter.
Boy, he throws it in such a good spot. I never see him hang that thing. It's always down under the knees. As a hitter, you think it's a strike. It's right there, but it's just underneath the strike zone.
He has really flourished as a closer. Blue Jays down by a run. And Pilar stays alive. You got to protect the plate now, obviously, with 2 strikes.
That high fastball is just to change the eye plane of that batter, maybe stand him up a little bit. I think you got to set your sights down low against this guy.
Way outside. Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Popped up right near the mound. Sandoval, third baseman, gives way to the shortstop as Bogart makes the catch. Uehara needs just 12 pitches to pick up his 2nd straight save in this series. 3 up, 3 down in the 9th.
What a job by the bullpen. They throw up 6 zeros. The last time a Red Sox touched the plate was Big Papi right there when he homered earlier in the ball game. He homered in the 3rd inning, but the Blue Jays offense just can't get it going tonight. They only could muster 6 hits and 3 runs against the Boston Red Sox.
The Blue Jays swept the Red Sox at Fenway. Now Boston trying to return the favor. They won the first 2 here in this 4-game series. We'll be back at it tomorrow afternoon. Mark Burley against Rick Porcello. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon. Here is Sportsnet Central, Ken and Ivanka.